This is the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Speaking of 5 Reasons Sports Network, we talked to the founder, CEO, the man you know very well if you watch anything 5 Reasons, Ethan Scoop Skolnick, we've dubbed him. Today, yes, we talked a lot of football. Guess what's on the horizon? Well, it's already been going on for half a season, but what we like to turn our attention to after the football season's over, the NBA, basketball. Ethan Skolnick's as big a basketball guy as anyone, and he's tremendously great with the Miami Heat. We talk about your Miami Heat right here with the one and only Ethan Skolnick, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubie Lubitz, and we're going to get into some buckets here with the number one guy. I mean, if you're in South Florida, there are a couple of guys that you have the Marco Rubio lookalike, Ira Winderman, who's been covering the Heat forever, and then you have Ethan Scoop Skolnick, who I think goes toe-to-toe with anybody when it comes to basketball. And we welcome Ethan, who was the founder, CEO, and the main impetus behind 5 Reasons Sports Network, started his own network. And now, Scoop, did I see somewhere on social media that you've moved on to something even of a larger scope? How are you, by the way?
I'm good. Good to be with you here, Defo. It is in progress. I will just say that. It's going to be a little bit more national, but 5 Reasons is going to continue here locally in Miami, and actually the new project should benefit 5 Reasons. So we should be in pretty good shape with that. But, yeah, I mean, Marco Rubio, Ira doesn't have as much hair as Marco Rubio.
No, I mean, without the hair. We did qualify that earlier in the program when we mentioned that very same thing. But dead ringer, I think, for Marco Rubio, Ira Winderman. No, nobody gets into a deeper minutia on the Heat, with possibly the exception of 5 Reasons Sports Network than Winderman, and yet it's somewhat mystifying. I wouldn't qualify this as a bunch of NBA bag ladies, but there were times, especially when you had like Butler, Hero, Adebayo all out of the lineup on the same night, where you're looking at, and you literally you couldn't identify the players with the scorecard because they weren't even listed in the program that night. How on earth is this happening that they're atop the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think obviously Erik Spoelstra deserves enormous credit. I think that the thing that Erik does so well is that he doesn't limit his players. And if you look at what they've done here, all of these guys. When Duncan Robinson's struggling and Max Strus plays, they run the same stuff for Max Strus that they run for Duncan Robinson. When Jimmy Butler's out and Caleb Martin plays, they have Caleb do the same kind of stuff that Jimmy does. And, the same lately with Lowry out, they have Vincent do those kind of things. He doesn't pigeonhole players. He gives them a lot of responsibility to try to develop them. It's not just him either. I think that if you take a look at what Adam Simon, Chet Kammerer, Eric Glass, the rest of the organization has done finding these guys. I mean, you have to find them first. You got to find something that you can develop, and they've just done a tremendous job. I mean, you take a look at some of their games. They've had like 3/4 of their points scored by players who were not drafted. Meanwhile, you've got like organizations like Sacramento who are drafting in the top 5 every year, and they're 20 games under 500. So it is a testament, I think, to their overall organizational structure, but mostly, I think, to Spoelstra. And then, the one thing I've said about their role players this year is they have alpha role players. The guys their guys think they're the best player on the floor when they're out there. Caleb Martin was a scorer in college. Max Strus was Paul's best player. Dave Vincent was the best player on the Nigerian national team. So they're accustomed to being in bigger roles. So when you put them in roles on this team, they've really flourished. I think that the next question is, okay, now you get Hero back tonight. Oladipo is getting closer. Lowry's going through the personal stuff, but he should be back soon. Then what do? You've got 12 playable players, pretty much. And we know that Erik Spoelstra does not play 12. So once you get to the playoffs, it's going to be 9, and sometimes it's going to be 8. So there's going to be some guys that are going to lose minutes here, and I think they'll handle it okay because they're younger guys who kind of owe their careers to the organization. But it is something to watch going forward.
We are talking to the one and only Ethan Scoop Skolnick. He is founder, CEO, but also host on 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also great on Twitter, very active and fun and knowledgeable. At Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. So it's interesting, Scoop, and you've brought this up a lot on Twitter, and I've noticed it. The Lakers aren't good. A lot of these the Nets have had issues, and they're on the front of SportsCenter every day. The Heat have been good the entire year. Haven't had their team the entire year. Miami's usually a lightning rod for media attention, yet for some reason this team is not getting any. Like, you've covered national NBA, you've covered local. Miami's always at the forefront. Why is this team treated so different? And they have plenty of stars.
They do have stars, but they don't have the kind of stars that ESPN obsesses over. I mean, I think the first thing is, let's just acknowledge it. ESPN has gotten worse, like progressively. Like it's a degenerative disease. Okay, they've gotten to the point. They've gotten to the point where they really only talk about like 4 teams. Okay, in all of sports at this stage. So, I mean, there are other teams in the NBA who've had success this year that they don't know how to talk about. They don't talk about the Phoenix Suns very often.
Yep.
They're not going to talk about Utah. They talked a little bit about Chicago. I don't really think, even though that's a big market, I don't even know if they know how to put that one into perspective. They're just not good anymore. I mean, there are people there. There are individual people. Their best people they don't even feature. People like Legler, Sedano, etc. So it's annoying, I think, as a Heat fan to kind of know that, you don't exist to them, that you could be the number 1 seed. I mean, yesterday, it's not just them either. If you watched TNT yesterday, and, I know Adam Lefkoe pretty well. I used to work on the feature report, and then you had Shaq on there with Candace Parker and Dwayne. And Shaq is sitting there, and he should know better. I mean, he's just down here. He's talking about, well, Brooklyn and L.A. haven't had their whole teams yet. And there's a clip that's circulating on Twitter where Dwayne's like, wait, hold on, come on. He's like, the Heat haven't had their own team. They're their whole team. They had guys out all year. They're number 1 in the Eastern Conference. Like, that's not an excuse. So I just, it doesn't seem like this team, for whatever reason, there should be talk about the job that Eric's doing. There should be talk about some of these guys who stepped in. But I just don't feel like they want to do the due diligence on the team. It will be interesting in the postseason to see if they start to do it. I think they're going to be a little late on it. They know Jimmy. They know Tyler. They know Bam a little bit, and that's pretty much it. And then they think that Kyle Lowry is probably paid too much. And that's pretty much all that they've done this year.
Ethan Scoop Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, with us here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitz on on channel. All right, going to leave it with this, Scoop, because this plagues Lubie. He had a voodoo doll of Ryan Tannehill because he had proclaimed for years. And in this business, Scoop, you don't want to be dead wrong about something. I mean, unless you're Mike Francesa and you can just bury the tapes. I didn't say anything about the Jews. What are you talking about? But anyway, and he had condemned Ryan Tannehill, and, his big thing was that Ryan Tannehill will never lead you to a Super Bowl.
That must have been right there.
Nice cliche, and that's that was, the gist and the depth of his sports analysis. He's praying that Tannehill doesn't do it, right? So, because he doesn't want to look like a fool. Do you think that Pat Riley loses sleep at night? Because this was another thing that Lubie was a big proponent of, and I can't believe Pat was on board. And does he go to sleep at night with his mouth wide open after realizing he went to Kentucky for not taking Devin Booker in the draft when he took Justice Winslow, who the press seemed to want to make into a good player because we all knew that it was like the Tua Justin Herbert thing. Everybody knew it was a huge organizational blunder.
Well, I think obviously now, with what Devin has become, there clearly was some regret in the organization. I think that if you look at that draft, if you go back to it, that was one of those things where it was almost a shame that Justice fell because they didn't really have Justice on their radar that much because they didn't think he'd be there at 10.
Nor should they have.
They thought actually, well,
he's
right.
Go top 5.
Top 5 pick. They actually thought a guy like Stanley Johnson was going to fall. There was someone. They did due diligence on Booker, and they might have taken him, but Justice was there. I think the regret at the time was not so much Booker. It was not taking all the picks for Justice that Danny Ainge offered. And Pat went to others inside that room and said, "Look, you guys always want picks. You want to take this deal." And they said no, and so they took the player. I think that now, as you look at it, look, Devin Booker is obviously a top 10 scorer in the league, and he's on a team that's leading the West and went to the finals. So I mean, it's hard to smooth it over. But I think as you look at it, with what they've done after, they've made up for a lot of it. Kyler is not Devin Booker, but again, he's a Kentucky product who's a reasonably close facsimile who's still growing. And then I think if you look at some of the other things they've done, it's kind of like, the KZ Akpala move, right? Like that was really a Pat move to trade 3 second-round picks to take KZ Akpala. And you can regret it and say, well, okay, he hasn't really worked out. But when you get Caleb Martin on a 2-way contract, it's kind of like, okay, well, we made up for that one. And I just think they've been incredibly resourceful at finding players lately that has made up for some of the poor moves. They are the only team in the league, guys. They're the only, and now this will change when Defo comes back because he's the number 2 overall pick. But they're the only team in the league right now that has not used a top 12 draft pick this year. Only one.
Wow.
Tyler Hero was 13th.
Yep.
Bam was 14th. Yep. Jimmy was 30th. Kyle Lowry, I think, was 25th. The rest of the team, I believe, was all second-round picks or undrafted. So they have been able to find players in a way that, you make a big mistake, yes, but it's not like the Dolphins. The Dolphins make a big mistake, and they can't make up for it because they've made so many other mistakes. The Heat can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's, under the auspices of something that I've often had to remind myself of. We all make mistakes, and it happens. So you certainly didn't make any mistake starting out on your own there, Scoop Skolnick. Congratulations on all your success, and we thank you so much for stopping by here on Ion Channel and the Defo Show and on your own network, as a matter of fact. So
yes,
you're guesting on your own network, which is always a highlight of anybody.
He's on like every show.
That sets out to work on their own. Thanks for being with us, my friend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Scoop.
All right.
Yeah, I feel you know that man pretty well. If you've watched anything 5 Reasons, he not only has his own content here, but I think he jumps on all of our stuff here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the one and only Ethan Skolnick, who created the 5 Reasons Sports Network to really give the South Florida fan more of your local content, and we try to do that each and every day on the Defo Show, give you lots and lots of South Florida content. Today we talk with Ethan Skolnick about the Miami Heat, the team that is number 1 in the Eastern Conference, yet forgotten by the national pundits. Well, I'm thinking they're going to talk more and more about them as this season rolls on deeper into the second half of this season. Coming up next, we talk more South Florida sports as we talk to the icon, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Tony Segreto. It is a Kicking It Old School Wednesday with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse and Catholic Health Services. Coming up next, we talk about the MLB travesty when it comes to the Hall of Fame voting. And we talk a lot about the Miami Dolphins head coaching search. Who do we like? Who do we not like? Who does Tony want? The man who's covered the Miami Dolphins for over 40 years. Up next, right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home. Thank you so much for sticking with us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the Defo Show with Lubie. Coming up here, we talk with the one and only South Florida icon when it comes to sports broadcasting and actually broadcasting at large, Tony Segreto. Each and every week, every Wednesday, we are Kicking It Old School with Tony Segreto. Once again, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse and Catholic Health Services. Today, we talked about what the heck happened with Major League Baseball Hall of Fame voting. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens out, David Ortiz in, yet all three had PD rumors swirling around them. Tony gives his take, a man who played minor league baseball and covered Major League Baseball for a long time. And then we focus on the Miami Dolphins. What the heck is going on with their head coaching search? Who do we like? Who do we want? Who does Tony think the Miami Dolphins should hire for their head coach? Right here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
It's always a pleasure on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock to welcome to the program one of the real greats, a giant in the broadcasting industry here locally, internationally, and just a great, great guy. He's on virtually every college committee that you could possibly be on. If you're pledging a fraternity, you have to go through Tony Segreto. We welcome him for a little old school. Tony, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
I am doing fabulous. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about this when you just said, every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. How conditioned are we? For how many years did we do our show on Thursday?
Thursday, I was going to say.
Yes.
It screws me up that
so,
we do Wednesdays.
Do you know that all day today, it's been this way now, even since we started this. All day today, I'll think it's Thursday. All day, I'll think it's Thursday because I did the radio show today, or I did our show today. So you're just
that's a byproduct of old age too, Tony, and maybe the fact that your brain might be frozen there, like that knish I had this morning. 2 minutes in the microwave, 2 in the toaster oven, just to get it ready to go. But it has to be. It has to be cold in Vermont. Are you kidding me? I'm looking at blizzards everywhere.
Yeah. We that's actually we were doing some work in the studio, so I moved some things around, and I'm thankful that I did because it's right now my weather station. It's 5 degrees.
5 degrees. Oh,
5 degrees. With the wind chill is about 10 below. So.
Perfect temperatures.
It's perfect to snuggle. It's a perfect snuggling day.
Yeah. Go outside and have a barbecue or something like that.
Exactly.
All right.
So I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
I want to ask you a question. Okay, because I know you've probably have out-talked this already about the great weekend. Probably I don't know about you, Defo, but I don't remember a weekend that you and I have been through where we've seen 4 games come down to like they came down. I mean, it was remarkable. But here's my question.
That seems to be universal. Everybody has. I mean, and it's not uncommon for whatever the latest exciting thing that happened was, or whatever the latest album is that's out by a band or a movie by somebody that you admire, and you're saying, wow, that's the greatest of all time. I've never seen anything like it. But I think essentially that was true. I would agree with you 100% on that. Never quite seen anything like it.
There was not one game. I mean, the only game that you would have thought that was out of hand was the and here's another thing. I think Matt Stafford, I think Lions. So I'm thinking Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
The Rams game.
Well, he looked like he was with the Lions in that game at the end, not so much him,
exactly.
But the rest of the team.
Exactly. But so you thought if there was any one game that was out of hand, you thought that was it. And then all of a sudden, here comes Chris Collingsworth, genuflecting in front of Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady, kind of doing his thing. But here's my point.
Yeah.
And I asked this of my son last night. So we had this conversation, and I said to him, watching those 4 games, 8 teams, could the Dolphins compete with any of those teams at the level that they were playing with on Sunday?
My answer to that would be an obvious and resounding no. I mean,
with capital letters. Yeah, with capital letters and an exclamation point.
Look at the quarterback play. You're not going to get anything close to that out of Tua, maybe in his career.
No.
You thought maybe, he had that kind of spark when he threw that touchdown pass in the national championship game in relief of Jalen Hurts, a spectacular play. And you thought, well, maybe this kid has that kind of magic, but it's not in evidence yet. And, the quarterbacks, with the exception of Tannehill, much to Lubie's delight, all were spectacular and the light years ahead of where we're at that position.
Yeah. When you see Matt Stafford, here, what an arm this guy has. Still has it. Still can do it. And the other thing I was saying is you could tell a guy like Matt Stafford, Patrick Mahomes in particular, right? They were, drafted as baseball players. And Defo, you can really appreciate this like I can. These guys can change their angles, their throwing angles like that.
Yes.
I mean, it takes nothing. They're being rushed. Boom. They'll give them a little sidearm. Boom. They'll do it a different way. They'll whatever they have to do. And I was just, it was captivating. It was reality TV at its best.
A lot of fun. I mean, that game on Sunday night was so exhilarating. We pop into the sack a little bit early, especially on a Sunday, because we do experience literally a peel yourself off the mat Monday when we come together to do the show 7 a.m. on the East Coast here. So what, you got to get up like 5:30. And I was so exhilarated after that game. I couldn't sleep. I wanted to see more. It was like a great movie that ends and the credits go up and you're thinking, wow, I wish it was longer, or a great fight that you would like to see extended. Just fantastic. Now, we had this, Tony, and I want to get your opinion on this because the more I think about it, it makes more and more sense to me with each passing moment. And I really know they'll never do this because it doesn't have like the whole impact of starting the game all over again. But I believe the solution to the hideous unfairness of the overtime setup and the parameters of overtime in the NFL, where a team scores a touchdown like that against a gassed-out defense because they got the ball via a coin flip and the other guy never gets a crack at the field. I think all of the questions about fairness and equity are answered if you just continue the game from the exact point it was at when it ended. In other words, you're going to overtime, so you're really just extending time.
That's a great idea.
Now it becomes sudden death, but if the team had the ball at midfield and it was a 3rd and 5, you pick up the action with the team that had the ball 3rd and 5 at midfield. And so the game that's been played to that point doesn't just get erased completely and a whole new ball game under different circumstances, cockamamie as they are, gets underway.
Agreed. And it's funny you say that because I think you're absolutely spot on right. And isn't that the way we played on the playground? If there was
like,
tie,
hey, next score wins.
I've done that. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's the way to do it. It certainly would change the strategy of an end of the game that's tight, right?
But maybe not. I don't know. I mean, you would want to be in a favorable position, I guess.
But how many of us really wanted to see Josh Allen get that ball back? I mean, just to see if he could do it again. And it's funny. You change when you're doing what we did for so long. You don't let people know who you're rooting for, who you're not rooting for. And, this was a tough one because I really love Andy Reid. I really love Patrick Mahomes and what they stand for. But goodness me, I love Buffalo. And I just wanted that town to be celebrating. And then the other part of me was, yeah, but if that means they get to the championship or the Super Bowl, they could be losing 5 in a row.
Yeah, but I don't find that such a negative distinction because you had they made it to 4 straight Super Bowls. The fact that they lost them all, it's unfortunate where the mentality in almost all of sports, and this has been for a long time, and
absolutely,
our mutual buddy Eddie Kaplan used to say, you win, you're great, you lose, you stink.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I mean, there's nothing so negative. I know, everybody would be opposed to having a participation trophy or whatever, but you know what? You got there. You had to be pretty good, to put yourself in that position.
Exactly.
No disgrace in necessarily losing.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm excited. Here's the thing. You say to yourself, it was so good this past weekend. How good could it be on Sunday? How much better?
It's going to be good for me. I'll be watching it in a sports book in Las Vegas, possibly, a wide open space like the Mirage where the people will be yelling and screaming.
We'll have to talk before.
It's great to be in atmospheres like that, and it's almost as good, as being at the game because you can bet horses while it's taking place.
Yeah, we'll have to chat before before the game. So if there's something we could do, you could help me out.
I wanted to get into who you like, but you know what? I have to backtrack a little bit here. Because I was with a mutual friend of ours. I think you're, have worked maybe at one time or another with my buddy Mike Fernandez, who is a big-time guy with Bally Sports, and their technical advisory oversees everything, Heat, Panthers, Marlins. I mean, he is the man. And so we're driving back from a thing that we did yesterday, and he tells me how much he despises Buffalo. And that's from his days of traveling with the Miami Dolphins, where he was doing all these Dolphin magazine shows. Yeah. And, you may have been on that bus where they threw the bottle through the window. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Did you get on the team bus when you were leaving these ball games, Tony?
In fact, when they threw the bottle through the window,
these are the Buffalo fans we're talking about.
Yeah. The window that was broken was the one, and that was the seat in front of me.
Nice.
Where the window was broken. And that's where Wayne's son was sitting.
Yes. And that's what Mike was saying.
Wayne's son was sitting. There were people actually, the buses were so close together. The team buses, our buses, were so close together. I mean, literally, the end kissing the beginning, because the traffic was difficult getting out, that people had climbed on top of the buses and they they could walk from bus to bus as if it were a walkway, and pounding on the bus,
Yeah.
throwing all different things.
It's like a scene out of Con Air or something.
It was incredible. I just, the fans of Buffalo, they are, we hear about the fans at Lambeau, and I've been there in the winter, and the fans in Minnesota, and I've been there in the winter. But goodness me, those fans in Buffalo, they take their tailgating, regardless whether it's summer or winter, to a whole new level. I mean, they do all 3 meals, and then they do an after party.
But having witnessed firsthand and nearly being victimized physically by this absolutely unjustifiably horrid fan behavior, you still are able to root for the Buffalo Bills in that spot. See, I had a small monetary interest in the Kansas City Chiefs in my personal bookmaking venture that I have with my buddy Francesco. And he went 0 for 4 on the weekend, which was good for me because he was killing me all season long. Now 2-8 in the postseason against the point spread, even with his shaved point spreads that are not nearly as generous as those you're getting from your own individual bookmaker. But outside of that, either team really, is one of those games where it was easy to cheer for either team that ended up winning that game.
Yeah. I felt that way too. I mean, we were having a family conversation as to who wanted who, and my daughter wanted Buffalo, and on and on. It's just so you sit there going, you know what, you don't care. You don't want to say you don't care, because you do care, but whatever team wins, we just want a great game, and boy, did we get that. And that's really all we can ask. And then we can dream about, do you think the Dolphins will ever be there? And that dream is a distant dream for sure.
All right. So you would not be inclined to say this wouldn't be a Tony Segreto type of position to take, but our position on the program is that in reality, Buffalo is a shithole of a town. But I mean, in a million years, you couldn't convince me to move my tack, as the jockeys would say, to Buffalo and start driving harness horses at Batavia.
Yeah, it's a place for hardy people and hardy folk, and you have to live that kind.
Fools is what you're saying, Tony.
It's tough this time of year up there. It's tough. Listen.
Well, and this is spoken by a guy who just walked outside in 5-degree and minus 15 wind chill, like you were crossing Lambeau. It's
much different here. I mean, these are wide open spaces. I live in the woods with like 2 or 3 homes on a road, and you're surrounded by farms and
very peaceful existence.
It's extremely peaceful. There's no light pollution. There's no noise pollution. When you live out here, you go to the farm and pick up your eggs.
Could you grow your own weed in the backyard and nobody would care?
Pretty much everybody does. Pretty much. It's
not like you have a drug dealer at the 7-Eleven that you can go see in the parking lot.
There are very few gardens here that don't have that.
All right, good.
But I will tell you this: we have
the sweet waft of marijuana. I don't know if it has an aroma when it's growing. But,
we have a guy who lives down the very end of this dirt road that we're on.
He's sending out smoke signals.
He's completely off the grid. The grid.
What kind of guy is he? Is he sending out anthrax?
Here's the thing. No. This guy could be a model. He's a big dude. He's got this manicured beard. He's as handsome as could be. Nicest guy. Does his own maple syrup, but he built his own cabin. He's all solar. He's got his potbelly stove. And he is off the grid.
So it's not a heavily Jewish populated neighborhood, is what you're saying. I mean, Lubie and I are not building our own log cabin, Tony.
You could.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't even begin to think about it. I can barely flush the toilet. What are you talking about?
When Seinfeld and Costanza were talking about the cabin that had just burned down, and George goes to Jerry, it's a log cabin. You and I could build a log cabin. And Jerry flips on and says, well, maybe not you and I, but 2 other guys did.
Exactly.
The more I think, as we've transitioned into other things, but you've got me coming back to this question. They're far away, so far away. It's Carole King on the Miami Dolphins from being in that elite. And that's a good barometer to take a look at any team that you root for. And you see as the playoffs, dissolve down to, say, in this case, 4 teams left. And look, the Dolphins could have been in a position they blew the tanking, or they might have had Joe Burrow throwing a rock for him.
Yep.
Right. Here's
They
the thing. I thought at the end of Ethan's conversation, he says something that I think we all should understand, that making a mistake, we all make mistakes.
Yes.
But if you continue in the world of sports to make the mistakes that the Dolphins made, that it's so difficult to overcome those mistakes because there's so many of them. And if you make enough of them, one good answer, one good draft is not going to help you.
No.
You need to do it over and over again. You need to change the culture. I mean, look at the Giants. They're interviewing Brian Flores. Everybody believes in this guy. And
you know what? The lean seems to be they're going to end up with this Dayball, the offensive coordinator of the Bills, because they hired the Bills assistant GM to be their GM. That was a speculation.
So shall we
today.
look back at
very heavy? Yeah.
All I'm saying,
Flores might get a job though. There are now 8 job openings. Can you believe that?
With the Saints,
Listen, you all do your own research, but let's look and see. Shall we look up where Dabo's been and
Dayball,
Should we look that up and see if this is the best guy for us?
I want Daboll. I just don't know if the Dolphins are going to.
And why do you want Daboll?
Because unlike other people, I'm all in on Tua. I want to see Tua given an actual shot.
He worked with Tua
he's
too.
Never
at
given.
Alabama, right?
He was Tua's offensive coordinator at Alabama. His first year there, Tua's first year.
So
there.
you're bringing a coach in for one player.
Yes, they do it all the time.
You might need that.
That's why he went.
If you look at the Dolphins,
why he was in Buffalo was for
I
Allen.
think you can agree. They have they've whiffed on an entire wing of Hall of Fame quarterbacks at one time or another. I mean, you can track it. I mean, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, they could have had. They might have been able to. You can't really blame them. On the Burrow thing because they ended up winning a few games that year. Justin Herbert looks light years ahead of where Tua could ever be after a couple of seasons in the league.
Agreed. No, I agree.
Aaron Rodgers, they could have drafted.
I wasn't asking the question as if I doubted you. I'm just asking you, can you back that up? Do you believe that that's okay to bring a guy in for one player?
I mean,
I don't know. I don't think that's the reason. Look at Buffalo's offense and what he did with Josh Allen. I mean, you would have to say that he's
Josh Allen's talent helped that a little bit.
But it helps to be in the right situations and know how to be utilized, which Dayball seemed to. Really make the most of what this guy's abilities were. A lot of people thought that he was too raw of a talent and too erratic to ever develop into this type of dynamic force.
Yeah, well, I'm ambivalent about this one right now.
Well, who do you want to see, Tony Segreto? I mean,
right now, here's it. I'm looking at the overall picture.
All right. Who fits
the whole picture, not just Tua.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if we need to have someone come in and bring some stability, some reason to this organization. I'm looking maybe we bring in someone who's had like a Todd Bowles. I'm not saying him, for example, but I'm just saying someone who could just kind of set the culture, who brings in brilliant offensive and defensive coordinators, young guys who can be innovative and set a foundation and move the team in the right direction. I'm not saying that he's the guy, and I'm not saying that Daboll isn't the guy. I want to be purposeful. We're doing this every 3 years, and every 3 years we're getting a setback because it takes time to overcome all of those things. We set a new culture, get a new.
Hey, look, I mean, speaking of all making mistakes, look how many teams are making the same mistakes, and they're all the ones, not necessarily.
Not nearly as bad as ours. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants have been in this situation.
Yeah,
they've had 3 coaches now in 6 years, and they're about to hire another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're one of those stable organizations that everybody looks to and says, well, the Maras, I mean, what they're doing.
Thank you once again for listening to the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network today. Big thank you to Ethan Skolnick, Mr. 5 Reasons, for talking lots and lots and lots of Miami Heat basketball. And the icon himself, Tony Segreto, talking about the Miami Dolphins head coaching search and the MLB Hall of Fame voting, which is a total hypocrisy-riddled mess. Have a lot more fun tomorrow right here, so check us out. And you can always check us out each and every morning on Ion Channel from 7 to 9 live. Just Google The Defo Show. And you can check us out regularly right here, The Defo Show with Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?